Another reason my morning was rather shitty. I haven't got.
Hi, sis. Thank you for sharing that. It's bullshit that people still have to go through this bullshit in modern days. The only thing that comes to mind is better opportunities will come, right? And I'm with you. We shouldn't have to sacrifice our dignity and that connectivity um, for money. I used to be under the axiom of kind of fit in till you make it, and it was more along the lines around hiding behind victimhood against, and I'm not saying that's what happening here, against showing them what you're worth. See, a lot of different groups, especially women in the '80s, in spite of their oppressors, got ahead. I know within your culture, Black Americans, um, some of them, like say Madam C.J. Walker, I'm pretty sure it's almost a given that they heard this kind of language and in spite of that did what they had to do. Should we still have to do that in modern age? No. I think we are further along, um, socially speaking, that we shouldn't have to do that kind of bullshit anymore. That we should be able to set our boundaries and say, you know what, because it's not just me in your case. It's not just me. Me accepting this and bowing my head like a cow, um, and that comes from an old expression. I forget what the expression itself is, but basically, um, acting like a sheep. Acting like a sheep for the sake of money gives the wrong message to the next generation and especially anybody who would be benefiting from that service, because by accepting that kind of behavior we're telling them it's okay, right? For everybody else who is looking more at the opportunity rather than what do you call it, the denigration of a oppressed group. Here's something to think about, and I'm going to put it in a parallel kind of a way. Imagine, imagine somebody. First, imagine you had a very close loved one who happened to be X, Y, and Z, gay, black, whatever. They were the jewel of your eyes. They were very special to you. And then you encounter somebody in business, or any other profession, like you want to get something, like some sort of, like say the job, for example, to get the job, to get the interview, to get a grant, to get a business opportunity, whatever. And the person on the other side happens to dump on that individual. Now, imagine that that individual your loved one went through a lot of shit in their life, and they overcame a lot of stuff, but they had to face a lot of bullshit. Now, imagine some jackass somewhere out there, um, dogging on those particular aspects of your loved one, basically equating them to less than, to a disposable being. Although not exact, put pause. Although not exact and much more severe, that's the history behind the N word. I'm not a black person, but I do know enough from history that there is a lot of cruelty that has been done to them. A content creator recently shared something that I had come across, I think, through NPR, a radio station here on the West Coast. I don't know if it's in the other parts of the country, but they had talked about something that was very frequent in Jim Crow era. Um, Whenever somebody was hung from a tree, it was this occasion for the whole town, at least the white population, to come out and view. They would go to church or they would do a picnic and then come out to this event. They would take pictures with the body. They would actually make postcards and send them out to family members, like Christmas cards almost. Some of these families might even have, present day, might still have these heirlooms from back then. Not only that, but it was also known that many times the bodies would be dragged through the streets, sometimes be torn limb from limb with horses. So they would make a total spectacle. Think kind of Roman times with the Christians and the lions, but much, much worse. Um, what do you call? And sometimes they would leave the body hanging, and if anybody would try to bring it down, they would be the next one to be lynched. Now, many of these times when these type of situations would happen, many slurs, including the N-word, would be used against these individuals. Not only that, but on daily life, like say you worked as a domestic worker, like say as a maid or whatever, look at The Notebook, and that's a movie, and see how in front of the maid, a black woman, the mother of the protagonist, allows denigration of the maid, and I think they actually use the N word. Um, Not only that, but when the daughter comes along, they treat her like shit, right? And so this would be often, right? That you would be working for somebody as a black person, and you would be hearing this, and you really couldn't do nothing about it because you would lose your job or end up on a tree, right? So that's a little glimpse into the history of that word. So for anybody, especially if you are not black, to use it is tantamount to basically throwing that horrible past in their face. For us Latinos, for at least for the Mexicans, we have a similar word, wetback, a word that was used against us whenever we were being denigrated, because it happened to us too. In the 1920s, I think it was, there were the suit riots, where basically Latinos wearing suits would be constantly harassed. There would be constant roundups in the border towns, like in Mexico, in Texas. Our people would actually be doused with DDT or similar pesticides every time they entered into the U.S. to work, wherever they were working. Our people would see something similar to the N word. We would be called wetbacks, spics, or whatever, especially when we were engaging with our employers, right? So imagine that kind of macro aggressions constantly, and sometimes even the less enlightened of the suppressors would look at a person in the eye, challenging them, like, what are you going to do about it? To see that kind of like that treatment of less than associated with a word. So please, I beseech, especially people in my community, please stop using that word. It's not our word. Yes, you may have friends in the black community, but still no excuse to use such a horrible word that was used against them. If you're in the black community and want to use it, that's up to you. But remember, that's part of your past. So it's up to you. It's not my place to tell you whether to use it or not. But it does have a lot of history. And I get why a lot of black Americans get upset with anybody else using that word. Because for us, although it's not as prevalent anymore for those like words like um, what do you call sorry, I'm thinking of the LGBT slurs too. So for as a gay community, like FAG and these kind of words, people kind of double think, right? But with the N word, people are too comfortable using it, and that's not right. So again, thank you, sister. I apologize if I spoke out of turn, but I think sometimes somebody in the oppressor class has to say something to make sure that the rest of us fucking get it, right? I hope this never happens to you again, and that the next opportunity is so much better, 10 times better. You will get it done.